You are listening to Book Clips, a podcast where authors and narrators expose you to excerpts from different books. You can find the show and more by searching for The Lesbian Talk Show on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher.
Hi, I'm Brianna Kienitz, and I will be reading from my novel Off Pitch. Chapter 3. Time progressed with more urgency after the first few days of school. Teachers started piling on the homework, and students like myself set our noses to the grindstone as we settled back into the swing of things. As the captain of the soccer team, I played an important part during tryouts in the second week of the fall semester. I was instructed to lead several of the drills, and I was encouraged to give my opinion on who should be placed in what positions. It was a fun experience, but I was exhausted when the first practice was over Tuesday evening. We still had one more placement practice to do on Thursday, but I was grateful to be free from soccer practice Wednesday evening. It hadn't even been 2 weeks, and already I was falling behind in my Spanish class. Much to my chagrin, I needed help if I was going to pass the class, and so it was that I found myself making my way to the place where Marcy had said she would be holding office hours. A few people threw casual greetings my way as I maneuvered through the narrow hallways. "Hey, Fahey!" a generic-looking bro said as he passed me by. I was too caught up in trying to remember if I knew the guy to respond. I was fairly certain I had never met him before. Sometimes being me was weird. A lot of people on campus knew who I was. Not because I was a particularly social person, but simply because I was one of the top athletes in the school. I had received a full scholarship to come play soccer for Northwestern, and started every game during my freshman year. From the start, I was a force to be reckoned with. I'd been the school's leading soccer star ever since. As such, my name had made it into the school newspaper after almost every game, often accompanied by pictures of me tearing it up on the field. Suffice to say that I had achieved a moderate amount of celebrity on campus in the 2 years I had been here. It made me more than a little uncomfortable at times, but not enough to deter me from my passions. I played soccer because I loved the game, and nothing could change that. I reached the office I had been seeking and stopped short outside the open door. "Oh, hello. Adeline, right?" Gabriella sat at a nondescript desk in the cramped space beaming up at me more brightly than I felt the situation warranted. I hadn't realized I was still standing in the doorway staring until Gabriella's smile faded slightly and she cleared her throat. "Would you like to come in?" she asked, sounding concerned and confused by my behavior. "Oh, right. Sorry. Just Addie is fine." I snapped out of my stupor and took the seat at the end of the desk reserved for wayward students such as myself. "What can I do for you, Just Addie?" she teased with a good-natured chuckle. "Well, I'm hoping that you might help me pass this class. I'm terrible at Spanish." "Everyone is terrible at Spanish at first. That's why they call it learning," she replied with thinly veiled sarcasm. Gabriella may have seemed shy in the classroom, but clearly there was more to her than met the eye. I had yet to be in such close proximity with her. Now that I could see a spark burning behind her jewel-like hazel eyes that spoke of something fiery hidden beneath her reticent exterior. It created a persona of mystique that I was finding terribly distracting. It didn't help that she was utterly gorgeous. Her chocolate-colored hair perfectly complemented her bronze skin. She was relatively small in stature compared to my 5'9" frame. I guessed she was a few inches shorter than me, and her curves were to die for. "So, did you have something specific in mind to work on, or did you want me to teach you the whole of the Spanish language right now?" Gabriella's snark caught my attention, and I looked down sheepishly to avoid staring at her any longer. I guess I don't really understand the whole masculine-feminine thing." "Of course you don't, you're a lesbian." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing at my poor choice of words. Gabriella was the picture of patience as she explained the difference between the masculine and feminine word endings, and the mechanics that went along with them. I marveled at the complete lack of condescension in her explanations. I had been to office hours with other TAs and professors that had left me feeling like a fool by the end of the session. "Where are you from?" I asked several minutes later, once I felt that I was beginning to get a handle on the concepts we were discussing. "España," she replied, without looking up from the diagram she was drawing to display different vocabulary words with feminine and masculine endings. "Oh, that explains the accent." "Wow, smooth, Fahey." "What about you? You don't sound wholly American either." I was glad Gabriella had chosen to ignore that dumb comment. "I'll take that as a compliment," I said with a cocky half-grin. "I'm from Naperville, but my parents are Irish immigrants. I guess their accents rubbed off on me a bit." "Huh, that's cute." I didn't know if she realized what she said, but the comment made me blush furiously. I was glad her attention was still focused on creating the endings table. So, Naperville, isn't that pretty ritzy? I guess so, I shrugged, not wanting to delve into the details of my family or my upbringing. I was spared that uncomfortable conversation by a knock at the door. A young man I didn't recognize stood in the doorway. Buenas tardes, Juan, Gabriella greeted him with a wide smile. The man, Juan, replied with a string of Spanish, almost none of which I understood. Gabriella nodded and hummed at appropriate intervals, and then looked to me when Juan had finished speaking. Did this help? She asked, turning back to the business at hand. Yeah, thanks. I'll be going. I excused myself awkwardly, sensing that I was on the verge of overstaying my welcome. Okay, feel free to drop by again if you have any more questions. I waved in acknowledgement as I pushed past Juan and hurried out of the office. I had no right to feel as downtrodden as I did by Juan's intrusion, but the feelings were there all the same. I was truly enjoying my time with Gabriella, even if it was for something as horrible as Spanish. Juan's interruption had made me unnecessarily morose. I wondered if he was her boyfriend. Not that it mattered. I had a life plan to stick to. It would be in everyone's best interest for me to keep my head down and mind my own business. I kicked a pebble along the sidewalk absent-mindedly as I made the trek back to the apartment. I hoped that Jessica wouldn't be home so that I could be irrationally sullen in peace. Alas, I would have no such luck. Why so gloomy, sourpuss? Jessica asked as soon as I walked in the door. I dropped my backpack on the floor and flopped down on the couch next to her. I suck at Spanish, I grumbled. Ah, the old coming to terms with the fact that you're almost as human as the rest of us bit, Jessica said with unbridled sarcasm, throwing a piece of popcorn into her mouth. Whatever. What are we watching? A colorful song and dance number was flashing across the TV screen. Rocky Horror Picture Show? Isn't that a Halloween thing? It's barely even September. Does it matter? This is the holy grail of musicals. Oh boy. Jessica was on a roll today. Wow, I can't believe my parents allowed me to be friends with you all these years. You better keep a fire extinguisher handy whenever they're around. They might try to burn you at the stake for that kind of blaspheming. Ha! Please. As far as your parents know, I'm as innocent as a lamb. I'm pretty sure they love me more than they love you. You're telling me, I said with a snort. What's this show about, anyways? You haven't even seen it? Jessica exclaimed. I feel like I have failed as your best friend. What else haven't I made you watch? How should I know? I've been too busy trying to be the best soccer player of all time. God, Ads, you need to get laid. Sexually satisfied people are never this cranky. Like you can talk? When was the last time you saw any action? What do you think I was doing while I was home over the break? She waggled her eyebrows. I wasn't teaching little soccer snots how to dribble a ball, that's for sure. I sighed at her. Wow, good for you. I don't have time for that stuff anyway. I tried to back out of the conversation, but I knew it was no use. I know, Ads, being perfect is too much work. You should take a break every once in a while, if you even know what a break is. Never heard of it. I stood up and picked my backpack up off the floor, putting an end to the conversation, and headed to my bedroom. Hey, Ads! Jessica stopped me when I was halfway to the door. Speaking of Halloween, your birthday is coming up. Yeah, and? You're turning 21. That's kind of a big deal. We're partying, right? I threw my head back and groaned. Ads, come on. You only turned 21 once. You can let loose this one time. After that, I promise I will never lead you into temptation again. She put her hands together in a gesture of prayer and batted her eyelashes innocently. Fine, but if you let me do anything stupid, I'm kicking you to the curb. Jessica crossed her heart, and a mischievous grin spread across her face. She looked a little too much like the Joker for my liking, and I stalked off into my room before she could talk me into any more terrible ideas. I'm Brianna Kienitz, and I've been reading from my novel Off Pitch. Thanks for listening.
This was an episode of Book Clips. Check out the show notes for more on this book. And it would be great if you would rate the show and subscribe to the Lesbian Talk Show podcast channel for more woman-centered content. If you are an author of lesbian fiction, then send us your reading. You can find out how on the lesbiantalkshow.com/reading.